Okay, it has been a month, a little bit more than a month since I last updated. Really no reason why, other than I just didn't want to upload. I know, a very good reason. But yeah, the computer is built. I know I made a video about it, but I didn't get exactly the same parts that I ended up actually purchasing, but relatively the same. You know, still the same graphics card, same motherboard, same cooler. A lot of it was similar. Just there was some. I think it was exactly similar, but there's some minor differences in the prices. I ended up getting a 1440p 144 hertz monitor, which I think I said I would get that in the video. But yeah, it's up and running. I didn't brick it, thank God for that. But yeah, now we're properly gaming, and I thought it's a good opportunity to test out the video editing software. So why not make a video about what I've been doing lately? I've been playing POE, Path of Exile. So I just want to give a rundown on, I guess, how that went, because I think I'm done for the league, but I think I could definitely say this was 100% my first successful league, at least in my opinion, because my goals for this league was to make a character hit more than 1,000,000 DPS in POB, and also this goal kind of showed up after, but also get the armor set, which was at 24 challenges. So we're able to get that. So now we have the full Ophidian Lord armor set, which is pretty cool. Now I don't need to buy any MTX, I mean, maybe a shield MTX, and then we're good. But it's fine. But yeah, it was definitely a fun experience. If I'm honest, I ended up paying for most of the challenges, but that's okay. There's nothing super wrong with that. I mean, one of the reasons why I say it was successful is because I was able to get a ton of currency this league, at least for me, probably like 50x total. I farmed most of my currency from like general mapping, but a lot of it came from running logbooks, because they're actually like insanely profitable. I got a ton of currency from logbooks. Like I'd put in 2x, gain back like 5 or 6x in return, so it was really profitable. Aside from that, like I did try and complete some of the grindy quests by myself, or grindy challenges by myself. Some of them I did, but some of the other ones were like too grindy. Like I'm not even close to finishing the Eldritch Altars one. I think next league I'll definitely try and target it more. So this league we came up with 3 characters. Technically 3, probably a little bit more because we respect our characters a bit, but I'd say 3, that's pretty fair. What we league started with was a trapper, and we were using energy blade with blade trap. And the main reason we were doing it was just because it looked cool. And like it really does. It really does look cool. Like tell me this doesn't look cool. But I just got bored of it after like, a couple of days, wanted to do something better. I think I'm okay with the trap playstyle. I think it has like really good bossing DPS since it is a trap. And like the mapping is alright since it has decent AoE, but I don't know, I just got bored of it. And also scaling it was kind of a nightmare. I just didn't know where to go from there. But I'm sure I could have probably gone farther with this build. Don't look my items. I took off all my items, or most of them, and put on my other character. The second character we made was a Consecrated Path Inquisitor. I'll show it to you, but I respect out of it on my other character. I respect them, so I wouldn't be able to like show you the skill. But this character was the first character we ourselves have hit like almost 2,000,000 DPS on. Like we went above and beyond what we wanted. So I think like this league I definitely learned how to scale characters more than I ever did. It was pretty alright. I had glancing blows block, decent HP, decent energy shield with like corrupted soul. It was crit. I was running a cluster jewel with Glorious Vanity, and it was just overall not bad. It was somewhat tanky, but definitely not as much damage as I wanted to, or I wanted it to have. The second build, which this build is what we ended up playing for most of the league, was an Eye of Winter Deadeye. It started off as Eye of Winter, but with Eye of Winter, highest damage, not highest damage, but the damage that I had was like 500k with the skill. But then I got a suggestion from a viewer, and they said that I should swap to Ice Spear, and I swapped to Ice Spear, and my damage literally like tripled. And man, that's one of the things that made me realize that like when people complain about like build diversity and how meta skills are better, like they're not kidding. Like you can skill any skill in the game and still be able to like play it, but it'll probably cost you a ton of currency, you know. But it's kind of crazy that simply switching a skill will give you like 3 times the DPS and not even sacrifice, you know, quality of life or anything, because the clear for my ice spear build is still like really good. So here's what I played for a decent bit of time. I was going sniper's mark with Eye of Winter, and then also tornado for some supplementary damage, and it's like decent clear, like really good mapping, not the best bossing, but I'd use tornado with Eye of Winter and it was fine. But again, the damage was just a little bit lackluster. But then you swap to an ice spear, and it's literally like way more damage, and you're not sacrificing any of the clear. It's actually like crazy. Like you can off screen even more. It's just like it's disgusting, man. Like yeah, you can play any skill you want, but some skills are just like not all skills are made equal, you know. Some skills are just better than others. Like this one, just way more damage and way faster, which is crazy. But yeah, I don't really want to do like a build guide, but I guess I can do a build overview of how I got to this point, and then we'll call it. On our skill tree, we're going aura nodes. We use a mana flask, so we're getting some flask nodes just to make sure our mana flask is always up. Because without our mana flask, we run out of mana. It's that simple. Getting some health, some intelligence. We have 50% spell suppression chance, but it's not a lot. I tried with the defenses on this character, but again, this character is a glass cannon. It just dies. 6 million DPS, but sacrificing all your damage. I think like in game, my character doesn't even have cap resistances because I swapped out some of the gear and it got scuffed. We're getting reservation efficiency for Grace, Wind Dancer since we're evasion based, life, you know, flat life, frenzy charge, power charge because we're going crit, crit multi. Frenzy charge, more life. We're only going flash freeze for the damage, but mainly for the extra, minus resistances when I apply cold exposure, because I got cold exposure for my cluster jewel. But I'll get to the jewels after. Mark mastery. This one's pretty good. Enemies take 10% increased damage when they're marked, especially if I'm going the mark ascendancy on the Deadeye. But yeah, chance to gain frenzy charges when I hit a marked enemies. That's free frenzy charge generation. A little bit of spell suppression. I should probably be going to spell suppression mastery. I think there's a time where I was going the critical strike chance is increased by chance to suppress spell damage, but it's I don't know. I only have 50%, so it's not that much. I wasn't at the point. Culling strike against marked enemies. This one was like really convenient because it's just free culling, but I'm sure you could get easier ways, or there's easier ways to get culling. I could just do a gem swap, or not gem swap. I could just do a weapon swap and I got culling there. But get free blind or free guaranteed blind from my mark, which is pretty good. But during mapping, feels a little bit bad because you need to like make sure you actually use your sniper's mark against enemies if you want to blind them. But that problem I solved with my cluster jewels, because I'll explain it when I finish these two. But yeah, no, it's not terrible because my mark gets applied like really quickly since I have a ton of cast speed. And also my mark is linked to faster casting, so it really takes no time at all. It's just that it can disrupt the flow, but like you can see how fast I cast. So like the enemies will be marked. There's no issue. So we'll get to that. First of all, revelry, just literally mana, frenzy charges, the frenzy charge node, disciple of slaughter, and then increased damage per endurance frenzy and power charges. Since I'll have I think 7 frenzy charges, and 4 power charges. I originally wanted this build to be like a frenzy charge stacker, which I'm sure if I really want to scale the damage, I could probably do that. But just that it was insanely expensive to get rings and gloves with +1 max frenzy charges. So I'm still going frenzy charges, but I'm not able to like really maximize it, and that's not the concept of the build. Because originally I was gonna go Ice Bite and use that, but I was able to just get more damage with other things. So for our cluster jewels, prismatic heart, LA resistance, high damage, corrosive elements. This is how I'm applying my exposure, since I'm not using hydrosphere, because I feel like hydrosphere is pretty bad after the changes, since it only attacks once every like 0.7 seconds, which is like really bad. I don't know, it no longer like doubles your damage. Yeah, can only be hit once every 1 second. Like, that's so trash. Like, that doesn't double my damage at all. All it would be is just to apply the exposure. That's why I went tornado, because tornado you can hit it and like at least you get the guaranteed chain from it, and it reflects some of the damage, so it's just a huge damage up. But tornado DPS isn't really calculated by POB. This one says tornado is giving me like 72k DPS, but I'm sure it's probably like a little bit higher, because I don't know how they're calculating how much damage the tornado is taking. But yeah, disorienting display, 10% chance to blind nearby enemies when using elemental skill. This is how I get my blind when I don't have my markup, since I have a ton of cast speed, so 10% chance means that enemies around me are almost always blinded. I'm going basics of pain and pressure points. Typical, I guess, crit cluster jewels if you are scaling crit, and then shrieking bolts and repeater. This one gives me cast speed. This one gives me projectile damage. Also taunt, but I don't know. I don't think taunting ups my damage. Yeah, so that's most of my cluster jewels. I'm also going righteous path, so I can fit in zealotry. Cause man, I made sure to squeeze in zealotry. I'll go over my skills pretty soon. But yeah, I needed this to fit in my auras, because right now I have 7% unreserved mana, but I am running like a fair bit of auras. Not to the point where I could say I'm aura stacking, but like it's a decent bit. But yeah, focal point makes it so that my marks are just better, and when I'm mapping I can actually use them. Ricochet, +1 chain. I'm actually not going windward, I'm going endless munitions, which, oh snap, look at this. Oh wow, almost 10 million. Wow, who knew? Yeah, no, I spec'd out a windward on my character and just went for endless munitions because it's more damage, and I was told that the defenses from windward is sketchy and is a lie, so I'll trust it. But yeah, no, it's pretty good. 8 mil DPS. And it's pretty realistic, you know, pretty realistic. Everything that's up, I can keep up. So for my skills, I'm going yeah, so cold pen, spell echo, awaken added cold damage, ice spear, greater multiple projectiles or GMP, and inspiration, just to reduce the mana a bit. I have sniper's mark, obviously. I put arcane surge on it just so whenever I cast sniper's mark, I gain that increased damage from arcane surge. It's faster casting to make it easier to use, and then I have withering step as well. Second wind is not on withering step. So the auras that I'm running, hatred, great zealotry, I have them socketed in my shield because I have a shield that gives me 30% mana reservation efficiency. So this is how I'm fitting in my big auras. So hatred, grace, zealotry. Grace is like the only defense I have. Because, I mean, it says I have 34k evasion rating, but it feels much worse. Dash for second wind, because I have withering step on my left click, and then since it's a blink skill, it reduces the cooldown of dash, since dash is also a blink skill. So I just have dash on with second wind so that I can actually use it, just in case like I get hit with like an ice prism or I need to like dash over a wall, that it's still available, it's still there. Withering step, I don't know how much this is giving me. You know, it's definitely not upping my damage. It's just kind of convenient because it gives me the move speed and some damage avoidance, but it's mainly just for the move speed when I'm not casting skills. So I think the other option is to go phase rush or phase run, but phase run is terrible because it gets rid of my frenzy charges. So just I can't use it. And then shield charge is my main movement skill. You know, I just shield charge around. It's pretty nice. Tornado, increase crit strikes, power charge on crit, increase crit damage. This Tear is to up my damage, but mainly so I can gain power charges, because this is how I gain power charges on bosses with this setup. Herald of Ice is here, just because mapping without Herald of Ice feels pretty bad. And then look, I have some defense here. Cost 1 damage taken in Immortal Call. It's good. It's good. It doesn't do much for me, but it's good. Because if I get hit, I'm probably getting one shot. You know. Yeah, so that's most of my skills. In terms of my gear, 1 spell damage. The added fire damage is not really useless, but cast speed, crit chance, crit multi. The weapon, this is the shield that has the reservation efficiency. Ideally, I'd want some spell suppression on it. Oh, actually, it does. Yeah, no, 19% chance to suppress spell damage. But I think you can get up to 30%, but that gets too expensive. And the downside is that the max life is negligible, and also it has no resistances. I have a helmet, which this one, it still says Eye of Winter. You know, I didn't change that to an Ice Spirit enchant. But if I did want to, like, I guess continue on with this build, that's something that I would do. I also have the Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds implicits. So I have the 4% pen and then added cold damage to spells. This one gives me max life. The strength is pretty important since my attributes are pretty dire. You know, I don't have enough intelligence and strength on this build, so you need to get it somewhere. And then just like resistances. Body armor, this one was shamelessly gifted to me. I think it would have cost me around like 2 to 3 exalts though, so it's not too unattainable. I'm sure I could have bought it. This one gives me the flat spell crit, 124 max life, and then some evasion and also intelligence. So overall, and lightning. So overall, like all the stats here I use is pretty good. The maximum energy shield is whatever, but again, still pretty good. My gloves, the faster casting was completely unintentional. I wasn't going for that. But it's mainly just the cast speed, the life, and the resistances. And then I crafted some mana there just so I could have enough to actually cast my skills. And then I'm still using the Dark Ray vectors because they're actually pretty good. They give me a ton of move speed, ton of defense, +1 max frenzy charges, which I'm sure there's definitely better boots that I could go. But for now, they're like really cheap and really effective, you know. And originally, this build is supposed to be a frenzy stacker, but I just didn't get to that point. Amulet. Literally just here for attributes. I think it has like 80 intelligence to it and then some strength. And then literally just resistances. And then craft some mana on it. And then I do allocate arcane potency. It just gives me crit chance and crit multi. The stats that I want. I was running Circle of Fear, or I was running 2 of these, but then when I swapped to Ice Spear, I ran Snake Pit instead, and they give me relatively the same damage. Just synergizes well with Herald of Ice, and then Snake Pit synergizes really well with Ice Spear. You know, it gives me the +1 chain, and then my projectiles can't pierce, which Ice Spear in the second form pierces. Belt, literally here for intelligence, resistance, and life. That's it. Yeah, increased move speed on my Quicksilver Flask. I have it on use when it charges full, and then chance to gain a flash charge when you deal a critical strike. I'm pretty sure if I put it on gain a flash charge when you get hit, then it's almost infinite. But since I'm going an evasion-based character, I feel like those two don't synergize well. But I do have 100% crit chance, so I feel like that makes more sense. Jade Flask for some level of defense. This one gives me curse reduction, and then again flash charge on crit, use on charges full. Stibnite Flask, again, even more defense, otherwise I'd be dying even more. But this one has increased evasion rating and exact same stats. Seething Flask of thermodynamics, that's not right. I originally run Corrupted Blood Flask on it, but it's on my other character right now. And then my Enduring Divine Mana Flask. Gives me freeze and chill immunity, and also the enduring effect, which is really nice and really crucial, because if it wasn't enduring, then it would use it, reach to full, then like stop going, and then I just wouldn't have any mana, because I just use it to essentially be my mana regen. And normally I don't run out of charges. You see, like the charges are kind of like keeping their upkeep, but I'll be like moving around sometime during the map. I'm not always like standing still and casting. Yeah, I already showed the cluster jewels, right? But then the actual individual jewels, essentially the stats that I went for was crit multi and cast speed give me the most damage. Crit chance is there, added damage or added cold damage is there as well. Those are like, if you can't get anything better on your jewels, then you run those. And then also increase life, because I needed some defense, man. My character is squishy. It's squishy. And then I have a Watcher's Eye that gives me 15% cold resistance. This, I don't even think this costed me an Exalt. This cost me like 60 chaos. You know? Again, if I really wanted to scale this build into the end game, I'd go like, a Hatred and a Zealotry Watcher's Eye. But that's too expensive. Next league, I definitely want to just fully invest into my character more. But again, I completed all my goals for this league. You know, got a character 8 million DPS. So I can say that I have an understanding of how you get to that point. Because it was kind of like an iterative process, you know. I first started with Eye of Winter, and I think my original POB only had like 60k DPS. And then we just slowly like improved and upgraded our character, and somehow ended up at 8 million, which is pretty good. I think hitting that first million takes a bit of understanding, but once you get there, every like damage increase after that just like has a huge impact, right? But I think next league, what I want is to be able to make a character that has this level of damage or even more, but is also like way tankier. You know, I've seen those like immortal, Inquisitor, Cold Reap Inquisitor builds that just destroy all endgame content and never die. Like, and that's what I want, because I think using 6 portals per map or logbook or whatever you're doing just takes a toll on you, man. It just, after a while, it's not fun. So yeah, no, that's my experience with POE so far. I definitely had fun. Yeah. You made it to the end. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I actually really do like the skin. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Doesn't have the glowing effects, but I'm definitely not getting to 38 challenges because I don't want to. I already have this. It's good enough. But yeah, I'm out.